All right, let's get started. Hi, everyone. I'm Joanna Portela, Global Marketing Communications Manager here at Fiery, and welcome to our first ever Fiery Pulse webinar, Matching Pantone Colors the Easy Way. Before we start, I just have a few housekeeping notes. Your microphones are muted to avoid any unexpected background noise, but we definitely encourage interaction. Feel free to use the chat and Q&A boxes at any point. We have an expert team here who's keeping an eye on them throughout, and we have allocated plenty of time at the end to answer your questions. This webinar is also being recorded, so no worries if you missed anything. You'll receive a link to the full recording via email in the next few days to watch back or share with your team. And now I'm thrilled to introduce you to today's presenter, John Nate, our color expert here at Fiery. John is going to walk you through how easy it can be to get spot-on results when matching spot colors. Let's get started. John, over to you.
Thank you, Joanna, and a warm welcome to everyone today. The topics I'm going to cover today are to make sure that the definitions in your files are correct, Command Workstation settings are correct, talk a little bit about pre-flighting files and updating the spot color libraries, as well as addressing missing spot colors from the libraries or the groups, determining the color accuracy of your spot colors in your jobs, and if necessary, optimize these colors, and also a little bit about the additional learning resources that we have available for you. Now, the presentation today is being presented using Fiery Spot Pro and Fiery Pre-Flight Pro. A lot of what you'll see today could also be performed with Fiery Spot On and Fiery Pre-Flight, but to try to keep this as concise as possible, we're concentrating on these two programs. The first item I want to cover is making sure the Pantone color definitions are correct in the jobs themselves. This is a file that we've created and it's going to be available for you to download. It's got quite an array of spot colors that are included. I want to call your attention to this green color right in the middle. If we zoom in on this, you can see that this particular color, if we look on the right, and this is an illustrator, is defined as Pantone 17-5641 from the TCX library from Pantone. And that is the official Pantone name. That's the way that Pantone supplies their libraries to Fiery. It uses that official name. Now, sometimes people will instead, and I've got another version of it here, use the more common name possibly when they define the colors in their files. Emerald is not an official spot color name from Pantone. So if you have a file with a color named Emerald, right now it would not be recognized by your Fiery system because that's not how Pantone supplies the libraries to us. So it's important that the names are correct. Probably the most common problem that we see is when the spot color is defined as CMYK values, process color. You'll notice the swatch is listed as the type process color. So this isn't really even a spot color, but it's probably the most common error we see when people produce files. They figure since it's an area of pixels in the image that they've put together, well, that's a spot color. No, it has to be defined as a spot color, and it has to be defined with the proper name in order for the system to recognize it. Now, you want to make sure that Command Workstation is configured to recognize and process spot colors the proper way. If I click on the three dots here in my Command Workstation and go to Device Center, under Workflows, there's job presets. These are assigned to the jobs as they're imported, and I've got one called High Quality Color that I've made. If I click on the Edit button and then into Define, I want you to take a look at the Color tab and specifically the color input section, and kind of in the lower right hand area there is something there's an item, spot color matching. This is probably our most important feature here for matching your Pantone colors. If you have ever taken a look at the Pantone Bridge book, you will see every color specified has really two samples. And the first column is called solid. And that is what the actual ink color is. If you had a can of that color ink and you put it on your offset press, you would get exactly the Pantone color that is specified, that Pantone expects you to see. Now, if you don't have that color, that ink, then you are limited to using CMYK colors blended together to try to approximate that color. And often there can be a big difference between the two. If the spot color matching box here is enabled, you're telling your Fiery system, try to match as closely as you can the solid column of colors. And we recommend that you leave that option enabled because that's probably what you're going to want to see. It's probably what your customer is going to want to see. Next is the spot color group. Now, if I click on this drop down, you will see listed all of the spot color groups that are available on this particular Fiery server. Okay, and I can select one as a default, but that's not necessarily meaning that it's only going to look in that group. I'm going to come back to that in just a little bit. So also vital that you keep your system calibrated. If your system is not calibrated, then all bets are off as to how accurate your spot colors are going to be reproduced. If you right-click on a job, you can simply select Calibrate Job, or you can click the Calibrate button and go through the calibration process. And this is for your specific output device, for your specific colorants, and for your specific media. Either of these will work great and get you into a calibrated state to give you the best possibility of having accurate spot colors reproduced. All right, let's move on to file pre-flighting. I have imported into my Fiery server, into Command Workstation, the first two files here. And if I right-click on the first one, I can select Pre-Flight Pro, and I get another menu that lists a number of specifications, industry specifications from companies such as the Ghent Work Group that specify how PDF files are to be configured. And I'm going to select PDFX4 in this situation. PDFX4 allows the inclusion of spot colors in PDF files. So with that selected, you'll see the file will be processed. Now, everything I'm showing you here today, we're trying to get this in just 10 minutes to save as much of your time today as possible. So we've kind of compressed a lot of the time here. This is actually a simulation that I'm running, which is how we produce a lot of our e-learning materials. So your results may vary depending upon how fast your printer is and how fast your computer is. But I'll have a view report option here in the right-hand column once pre-flight is finished. And if I click on that, I've got two missing spot colors. Now, I can see they're named correctly, but they're just not available on this Fiery system. I know what the problem is, and that is that my spot color groups, my spot color libraries are not up to date. And we're going to cover how to fix that in just a little bit. If I click on the spot colors tab, you can see 175641. That's that green color that we looked at, and that is available in the system. Okay. Now, if I select the second job, I've already pre-flighted it, and if I take a look at that, in addition to the two missing spot colors because my libraries are not up to date, Emerald is also missing because, as I said, Emerald is not an official name. It doesn't know, again, what to do with it. Now, if you have a system that has pre-flight rather than pre-flight Pro, again, get the same results. I've got the two missing spot colors because my libraries aren't up to date, and I've got that emerald color that is missing. All right, so now what? Now I want to take care of the spot colors that are missing. And one way I can do this is if I right click, again, I've got Spot Pro installed on the system, and if I click Edit Spot Colors, it will launch an instance of Spot Pro looking just at the spot colors in this job. That's different than if I launch the Spot Pro application itself. But if I go into Edit Spot Colors, you can see there are the two missing spot colors from the library because the libraries aren't up to date, and Emerald, the misnamed color. Now, I could select each of these colors and enter LAB, LCH, or CMYK values, but first I want to make sure that my spot color libraries are up to date. Okay, so that's the first thing we're going to do, how to update the spot color libraries. If you go to solutions.fiery.com/Pantone, You can fill in your login information or your contact information there and navigate to a download page which has all the different Pantone libraries. And I know, did a little research, those two colors that are missing right now are in the Fashion, Home, and Interiors 2024 library. And I know that's not on my system yet, so that's what I want to do. So I click on the download file. It'll download a zipped file, and once I unzip the file, you'll see inside there's a PDF file that has instructions on how to install the library on your Fiery system, in addition to a number of spot color libraries or spot color groups. The Fashion, Home, Cotton, and 2 paper libraries are included in that one download. Okay, and the Cotton version, the TCX version, is the group or the library that includes the 2 missing spot colors. So I want to add that to my system. What I do is I have to launch the Spot Pro application. You can't do this from launching it within an individual selected file, but you launch Spot Pro and then click Open, navigate to the libraries, select the one you want, click Open, and you can see this has now been added to the system. Okay, so that is now available. Now, it's in the middle here, and if you remember back to the spot color group list in Command Workstation, these are all of the libraries that are available on the system. And you see our Cotton TCX library is now available. I could select that as the default, but that doesn't mean that that's the only library or group that your Fiery system is going to search in order to find and resolve spot color names with the recipe it should send to your printer. And if we look back in Spot Pro, your Fiery system will search from top to bottom through the spot color libraries or the spot color groups. And if it finds the color in the first group, it stops. If it doesn't, it goes to the next group and the next group and the next group. If you have selected a default group in your Fiery system, it will search through that group first. And if it does not find all of the spot colors, it will go back to the top and start to search from the top down. Now you can change the order of this. You might have duplicate colors, maybe for different customers, duplicate colors, especially if it's common names like, my orange. It might be in multiple custom groups, and you might want to make sure that you have the order correct. So if you click on the 3 dots, you can select move, and then you can move any library up or down or to the very top or to the very bottom. Now, if you find there's groups that you don't really need to use, you could also click on the little gear icon here, and you can enable or disable any of the spot color groups that are available on your Fiery system. If you disable a group, not only will it not appear in the list here to simplify the list, but it also will not be searched when a job comes into your Fiery system. So be careful which ones you enable and disable. All right. Well, we've got our spot color libraries up to date. What about missing colors? I'll go back into Edit Spot Colors, launch Spot Pro instance for this particular job, and now you can see the 2 missing spot colors because the library was not up to date have now been found. So those names have been resolved. But what about this emerald color? Well, I could go in and again, I could specify LAB, LCH, or separation CMYK values, but I know that it's just the wrong name, and that color actually does exist on my system. So I can enable the alias button here and then click on the little icon here. And in this box, I can enter the number of the official Pantone color. And if I do a search for that, I can see there it is. There's my cotton version on the list. And if I select that, then I am able to link the name emerald with the actual Pantone specification. If I click add, lo and behold, there it is. You can see it's now that green color, and it has been linked to my official Pantone name. Now, if I go into, close this, if I go into the full version of Spot Pro, and again, I can enter the name in the search field and select that library and that number, or excuse me, that number, that specific Pantone color. On the right-hand column, you see it also shows the alias here. So what I updated in the instance of Spot Pro I launched for the job updates the full version of Spot Pro, the application itself. So you don't have to go back and forth. And if I click or mouse over the option here, you can see that it shows it has been aliased. Pantone 175641 has been linked to the color emerald. So anything I do to the Pantone, if I optimize, you're going to see optimization in a bit. If I were to optimize the 175641, it'll automatically update emerald. Okay, so we've got our spot colors. We've got them all defined. They're all now available. Are they going to be accurate? If you go back into, and you can do this in the full Spot Pro application or launched from the job. I've launched it from the job. And in the right-hand column here, you see numerical data and some little icons. And those are indications of the spot color accuracy. We have numerical values. Delta E is what it's referred to. And delta E is how accurate will the color be. We have the system set by default for 5.0. Anything that has a number lower than 5.0 is improved accuracy. The smaller the number, the better. It's kind of like a golf score, apparently. So the bigger numbers, that means it's going to be less accurate. And it's color-coded. So really quick at a glance, I can look at anything with yellow. Oop, it's about 5.0. Might not be happy with that. Now that value comes from the full version from launching the Spot Pro application. You've got a tolerance setting, and 5.0 is kind of a general number that's used in the industry, and that's what we have the default set at. Usually, if colors are going to be accurate to a delta E of 5.0 or better, customers are usually happy with that. Now, this does depend upon the media you're printing on, the colorants that are available, and whether your system is calibrated and profiled. So all that comes and works hand in hand. You can also select the Delta E format. Delta E 2000 is used by the most up-to-date specifications from companies from ID Alliance and Fogra. Well, we saw some colors that were in yellow. Well, I'm not happy with that. I'd like those to be better if possible. And we have a feature called Optimize. We can optimize the spot colors. If I click on the Optimize option, I select the device I'm going to use to measure. You need a spectrophotometer to do this. You can set the settings, configure them for your particular device, and click Print. You'll be prompted to calibrate your measurement device if necessary, and the job will print, and then you measure it like you normally would any chart. And you click Next, and you'll see the results. We have an average delta E of 5.37, and the worst color has a delta E of 8.78. That was the color at the very, very top of the list. Now, if I click Iterate, it will recalculate the output values, the recipe it's going to send to the printer to try to improve the color accuracy of all of the colors, not just the one that's the worst here. It's going to try to do that to all of the colors in the job. Okay, and if I click iterate, it will do this, and I can keep doing iterate, 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 print and measure until I'm happy with the results or until I see, they're really not improving at all. But after 3 iterations, our average came down to 3.17 and our maximum is 4.96, so it's below that 5.0 threshold, so my customer should be happy. And now I can click apply, and you'll notice now all greens. Everything is good. We're all now happy with the color values or the color reproduction of all the spot colors in this job. Now remember, I said you could also do this to in the full version in the application of Spot Pro itself, and you can do it to the entire library, or you can do it to just a group of colors. If you do it just to this group of colors, it's a little faster because you're only printing these few colors. But bear in mind, it also updates the information in the full application of Spot Pro. It updates the library. So any job that comes in after you do the optimize just on these few colors, if those colors are in other jobs, they will also be optimized. Okay, so you don't have to kind of redo your work once it's done. If you have a printer with a built-in inline measurement device, you can also automate this process. If you click on the Optimize button in this case, you will see that you have two options. You'll have automatic or manual, so you can still do it manual, but if you select the automatic version, a window will pop up that will allow you to select 1 through 5, the number of iterations that you want to perform, and the instrument that you're going to use. You click OK, and that's it, hands off. It will print the file with all the spot colors. It will measure. It will bring in the measurement files. It will calculate new output recipes. It will print it again. It will keep going up to, again, 5 iterations, depending upon how many you selected. So we're on the 3rd iteration now. And remember, this time is compressed here for this presentation. But when you're done, you get a nice fiery spot color report. You could launch this also if you did it manually, but it lists information, the average delta E, the worst color. It lists the delta E for each color individually and gives you kind of a wealth of information. You could also save this report and then put it with the job ticket for this particular job if you need to prove how accurate the spot color reproduction is. Okay, and at that point, you can now print your job with confidence. With the job imported, simply click print. There's no need to link those optimized spot colors to this job. It's all done automatically in the background. So again, for the best spot color Pantone reproduction, you want to make sure you configure your command workstation properly, calibrate your printer, always make sure your printer is in calibrated state. Regularly check and update the spot color libraries. You can use the pre-flight tools to check that the spot colors are actually in the job. If you pre-flight a job and there's no spot colors, that tells you that your customer didn't create the file correctly. They probably used all just process CMYK values. Address any missing spot colors that are in the file, and then you can use Spot Pro to check the spot color accuracy and optimize them if necessary. Now we have additional learning resources that are available. I went through this very, very quickly today, but we have full interactive e-learning courses on pre-flight, on Spot Pro, on Pre-Flight Pro, and on Fiery cut sheet color calibration. So you have access to any of these and all of our courses. These courses are offered free of charge. You simply go to learning.fiery.com, register for an account if you don't have one, but once you're in, you can just take any of these courses at the pace that you desire in any order you want. And again, wealth of information there for you to access. With that, we will open it up for questions.
Thank you, John. This is really great. But before we get into the questions, I would like to ask for a huge favor. Since this was our first time testing this shorter interactive format, we would really appreciate if you could take just a minute to fill out a short survey that will pop up after the session. Your feedback means a lot to us, and you will help us make future sessions even better. And speaking of future sessions, mark your calendar for May 28th because we've got another great one coming up your way. And this one will be Smarter Printing Starts Here. Tap into Fiery IQ. In just a few minutes, just like today, you'll discover how Fiery IQ, a free cloud application that you already have, can help you gain visibility into your print operation, make smarter business decisions, and run a more efficient, profitable shop. It's a simple way to put powerful data to work for you. You can scan this QR code on the screen, and I am just sharing a link for you to register on the chat as well. All right, let's get started with all these questions. Okay, let me go here to the chat. Let me have a look here what we have. First one, and by the way, we have here many experts that will be helping us answering these questions. So the first one here, maybe Roland could help us with, is the list of spot colors in the Fiery system captured using 45/0 spectrophotometer or different like D/8?
Yeah, that totally depends on how the library has been gathered by Pantone. So typically it's done in D50, 2-degree standard observer, and they're using a very expensive X-Rite 7860 measurement instrument, and that measurement geometry is indeed D8 degrees. Yes. but that's not defined by us. Basically, we take the libraries as they have been captured by Pantone, and then we are providing them to our customers.
Great. Next question. How do I get Spot Pro, Pre-Flight Pro, or Pre-Flight? Maybe this one Giselle can help us with.
Yes, thanks, Joanna. So Spot Pro is an optional feature on Fiery servers. So you need one of two options packages for it. You need either the Fiery Graphic Arts Pro package if you have an external or Windows-based Fiery server, or if you have an embedded or Linux Fiery server, you need the Fiery ColorWrite package. Almost most Fiery resellers, Fiery Cutsheet and high-speed inkjet resellers sell both of these packages, or you can purchase directly from us. You can find the links on our website.
Next question. Do Fiery XF libraries work in the same way? Maybe Carrie, you can take this one.
Yeah, sure. They work in a similar way, but it's not exactly the same. So yeah, again, we do have e-learning materials on that topic. And they do work slightly differently in how you download them as well, in that for Fiery XF, the libraries come with updates. So the next update, which will be 8.06, will have the very latest Pantone home fashion interiors library in there. So yeah, we can follow up on that one, but it works in a similar way.
Great. Have another one for Roland, I believe. Is there a way to export Pantone solid coded and uncoded library from Fiery as a CX file?
Yeah, so we do not support the export of a library, a factory default library, as we provide it or as we allow you to download and install it. But of course, any customer can create a custom spot color group, and you can add as many custom spot colors into that group as you want. So in theory, you could go and duplicate a factory default library, declare it as a custom library, and then you could export it as an ASE or a CXF. So in theory, that's possible, yes.
Great. Another question. Why does the Pantone group order matter?
Ideally, you would have one color that is only part of a single library, and then we are finding it and we are using it. But of course, in theory, it's possible that you have a certain color defined in multiple libraries. And then by going from top to down, as John showed, and we can also change the order of libraries in the user interface, we can, or the user can define which definition has the priority. So basically, we start from top, we stop at the bottom, and wherever we first find a spot color definition, that is the one that we are taking. And you can go to the device center and you can choose a default library as well. And even if that one would be at the bottom, we would then start with that. So it's completely transparent and customizable for the user.
Great. And can you create your own custom libraries?
Of course, absolutely. You can always create a new library. You can start with a duplication of existing spot colors, and you can change them to your liking. You can create your own definitions of colors. You can give them your own name. You can define your own LEB values. You can have spot measurements if you have a spectrophotometer to define your house colors, and then you can create your very own library, of course. Totally, yes.
Okay, I have another one here. I assume this is different than CatLink for ripping.
So I can take that one. Yes, every type of digital front end or rip has their kind of own way of handling spot colors. Today we covered Fiery for cut sheet users, printer users. Fiery XF would behave differently, as does Digital Factory and the other products that some of the people have mentioned in the chat. So again, we can reach out with resources that match the type of rip that you have.
Great, thank you. Does the Pantone identification for Fiery match their current swatch books?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, sometimes you have the name of the library, maybe an abbreviation that is not part of the swatch book. But as you saw in the presentation from John, the name that you find on the swatch book, I mean, there is like a descriptive name. His example was Emerald, and then there's the official name with a number in it that's clearly defined. This is how the spot color definition is defined by Pantone themselves and the library as well. This is how we import them. So as long as you pick exactly the same name that you see on the swatch book, you will be fine, and we will know how to identify and how to map these colors accordingly. Yes.
Okay. And I have another one, maybe Roland, you can help. Does it make a difference, coded or unquoted?
Yeah, I mean, there are libraries for coated media. There are libraries for uncoated media. So yes, of course, it makes a difference. And if you have a certain spot color, the appearance will be different on the individual media. So it depends a bit on the library, but for some of the libraries, Pantone is offering coated and uncoated versions, and we provide all of them.
Okay. Can I have different libraries installed and choose in between them?
Yes, that's coming back to the priority system. So if you remember how John presented it, you had multiple libraries in Spot Pro displayed. And as said, we go from top to bottom. So even if you had, let's say, two more or less identical libraries where you define spot colors a little bit differently, and one is on top of the other, then we would first get the definition from the top one. And if we find the color in there, we would use that recipe. And you can play with that by choosing, first of all, you can change the order. You can move the second one to the first position, and then we would take that instead. Or you can go to Device Center and they say, for this workflow, for this job, I want a particular library to be the default one. And no matter where it is in the priority list, we would then first look for the spot color in that library, find it, and then use it. So it gives the user the freedom to choose the library you want to work with. Absolutely, yes.
Okay. We're at time, but I will take other two here. How often do libraries get updated?
Typically, there's depends on the library, but there's usually around about one a year. It does depend on the library, and Pantone do sometimes release a few in a year. So yeah, just keep an eye out for the notifications and the social media that we do when we do have updates for Fiery when Pantone do their updates.
And the last one here, if we didn't take your question, we'll reach out to you offline. But yeah, let's take this last one here live. How do I prove to my customers how close I am to their brand colors?
Yes, Fiery Spot Pro, for instance, offers several ways to demonstrate spot color accuracy to customers. First, you can generate and print swatch books from factory default libraries, from custom libraries, or selected spot colors to show the actual print result. This serves as a powerful what you see is what you get tool. And if you check the show measure delta E value in the swatch book's printing dialog, each patch would even include a measure delta E value, showing exactly how close the reproduction is to the original color. For even a more, let's say, robust verification, you can use Fiery Color Guard, which, by the way, offers a full-featured 30-day trial. And with just a few clicks, you can send a custom spot color group from Spot Pro over to Color Guard, which will automatically create a verification schedule. You can run the schedule daily, weekly, or as needed, depending on the stability of your printer. And it verifies all colors in your group, provides a pass and fail result, and lists the delta E values for each color based on the printer's current condition. You can actually share that with your customer as a proof of accuracy through a PDF file. So the real strength of combining Color Guard with Spot Pro is that that you have the ability to maintain consistent spot color reproduction over time, ensuring that your brand colors are accurate today, tomorrow, every day after. So that's a very interesting possibility.
Perfect. Thank you, Roland.
Again, we have e-learning courses covering all of those in detail, exactly how you would perform any of those tasks.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, John. That's it for today. Thanks to everyone who joined us. Thanks for your time. I hope this was useful to you in your daily jobs. And I hope to see you next time in our next webinar next month. Stay tuned for our email with the recording and a link to all the resources we mentioned. Plus, we'll do a document with the questions that we didn't get to answer here live today. We will have them answered in a document, and we'll share that per email. So stay tuned to that, and I hope to see you next time, and have a nice rest of the day. Thank you. Thanks to everybody.